Hello and welcome. This is the Zen community of Oregon, making the teachings of the Buddha Dharma accessible to support your practice. New episodes air every week.
I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. Welcome everyone, thanks for being here this evening. We just finished our annual meeting this afternoon. We had 50 or 60 people from around the Sangha. You know, we had people from Plum Blossom in outside of Vancouver, and then Shanae was here from Bell's Mountain, and people were here from Corvallis, and people were here from Heart of Wisdom, Great Vow, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. So we had a whole panoply of interesting people, and there's so much going on in our Sangha. It was just tiring to hear the whole list of all the meetings and events and everything else that were happening. It was just so. If you want to get involved in the Sangha, you can get involved by coming and attending sittings like this, or taking service positions, or being on some kind of committee or other, or there's lots of ways of being involved. The Buddha said that in order for a community to be alive and vital, or in order for the Dharma to be alive and vital, it needs Sangha. And Sangha is relationship. So it is not possible to actually have a real deep spiritual practice without relationship. We have to have relationship. We have to have the practices is engaged, it's active, it's expressed itself through relationship. So if we're working on cleaning up our own habits of mind, if we're working on touching the the deep oneness of all things, if we're working on knowing loving kindness, it needs people. And so whatever community you have, you need a community. We're human beings who are made for community. So we happen to have a rich, readily available community. You're welcome to participate in any aspect of it. We're continuing to do the Mangala Sutta. And for those of you who are new, the Mangala Sutta is a classic sutra from the Theravadan school. It's part of the Pali Canon, the complete corpus of the Buddha's teaching. I think it's part of the thing called the Kundra Nikaya, one of the five baskets of teaching. And it's called the highest blessings. So we've been going through the Mangala Sutta. Did we chant that this evening? Yeah, okay, you chanted that this evening, and we're talking about all the different blessings, and we're down to respectfulness in humble ways, contentment and gratitude, and hearing the Dhamma frequently taught. These are the highest blessings. So when we are practicing, first thing we do is we, of course, calm ourselves down. We learn how to be present. Learn how to be present with some equanimity. And then we open our eyes to the world. We open our eyes and see the world is vast and unique and different. And the world is filled with growing things, and filled with moving things, and filled with stars and clouds and space. And it's out of calming ourselves down, opening our eyes with mindfulness, that is the progenitor of respect. Respect is not it might be not something the military teaches you. You got to act in a certain kind of way, and then that's respect. But the respect that we talk about in a spiritual practice is that with a calm mind, with a really open heart, with a mind that is connected, that's in relationship, then genuine respect and appreciation comes forth as a as a natural phenomenon. So, and what does that mean, respect? It means that everything in the universe has its place. You know, the bricks have their place, and the walls have their place, and the floor has its place, and all the people have their places, and all the clothing has its places, and our glasses have its places, the stars have their place. Everything has its place, and everything occupies its place perfectly. Everything occupies its place perfectly. So it's easy to see, right here, right now, there is not a better you somewhere else. You know, we think, oh, well, here I am, kind of half present, broken a little bit. There is not a better you anywhere else. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. And you can't see the world any differently than you see it. In this moment, you see the world as you see it. You see what you see, you hear what you hear. You see it exactly as you see it. It can't get any better. Isn't that amazing? It can't get any better. It'll be different in the future. And it'll be, in each moment it'll be perfect. But there's no better you somewhere in the future or past. There is no other you because there's only this experience. And you can't, doesn't get any better. It will change. It will change. So the respect that we're talking about is seeing everything has its place. Everything is scintillating in its own, isness. It's alive in its own isness, and it could not be different in this moment. Could not be different in this moment. It will change. The future will not be the same. So that respect that we're talking about from a spiritual practice is a respect that is based upon mindfulness, based upon awareness, based upon having a really open heart. Respectfulness and humble ways. So if we boiled all our practice down to one thing, it's to reduce self-centeredness, to let go of self-centeredness. Most of the time we go through the day, I, me, my, what am I going to get, what do I do, I like it, do I not like it, I, me, my. If we said that all our practice is to reduce self-centeredness, then what's left? What fills us then? If we reduce self-centeredness, what fills us? Why? Everything else. Instead of thinking, okay, this is the most important piece right here, this is the most important piece I will cherish, I will protect, this is the most important piece, I will fight off any threat, this is the most important piece, and I'll put a cocoon around myself to try to make myself feel whole and complete. We cut out the whole world. But if somehow we see that, oh, maybe it's not about me, then what's left? Why, the whole world. Instead of having the mind turn in, trying to look and protect and see, we open our hearts, we open our mind, we open our lives. Now, the humbleness that, that this is talking about is not somebody groveling on the ground or crawling up the steps of the temple, or it's about letting go of our self-centered fixation. Of course we'll take care of ourselves, of course we'll feed ourselves, of course. But letting go of our self-centered fixation so that the world can fill us. So that, we hear the birds just saying. So that we feel the calmness of the room. So that we feel life everywhere. The humbleness is, I'm going to let go of my obsession with myself so that I can be filled with the world. Now, we all know what it's like to try to relate to somebody who is full of, look at me, I'm special, I know. We all know what it's like to try to relate to somebody like that, somebody who's a narcissist who is so obsessed with themselves and how they're appearing, and they're trying to manipulate the world to get them to see them as they want to be seen. I mean, now, talk about something futile. So much of our lives, we're trying to manipulate the world and people to see us like we think we'd like them to see us. Totally hopeless. Totally hopeless. So, we have respect, relationship, humility. We are all basically, the same. We got little bits and pieces here that are different, But if you look at a picture, an old picture from 20 years ago, with all this bunch of people in there, and you don't know them, they all look the same. There are these pictures in Japan. Every time they do a big event, they line everybody up out in the front of the temple and take a picture, and there's a picture of 200 little heads, 200 little heads. They all look the same. Some of them are a little lighter, a little darker, some a little hairier, some a little not. At a fundamental level, we're all just the same. We have basic anatomy. The anatomy is the same. There are anatomy books that describe, our anatomy, and they're describing not the picture in the book, they're describing you and 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 me. Basically the same. From one view, we're just these little boxes that go around eating and shitting, all day long. So to actually see that we are not special, we're all in the same boat. We all want to be loved. We all want to succeed. We all want to grow. We all want to be appreciated and have connection. We're all like that. One of my friends, mentors, exemplar is Byron Katie. And she says, you listen to people talk after a while, the complaints are always the same. Always the same. She's been doing this for 40 years. And she says, 40 years of the same complaints over and over again, All of our complaints. When we begin to recognize, oh yeah, it's just stuff, it's just my stuff, I just got to, it's not particularly special. I'm not special. I'm not special compared to everybody else. Then it's easy to relate to people. One of the things I think of, I'm always impressed with the Dalai Lama. There's these classic stories of the Dalai Lama going to hotels and just talking to everybody equally. It doesn't make any difference between who he's talking to. He's just trying to talk to everybody. We're on the same boat. He's from his vantage point, doesn't seem to be. We think he's special. I think he's special. But from his vantage point, we're all in the same boat. So this is the kind of humbleness and respect that this sutra is talking about. Humbleness and respect. And then, what would it be like if I was not worried all day long about myself, about my future, about what I have done, if not worried about where I'm going to go and the kind of person, if we're not worried about that, what would it be like if we weren't worried? Imagine just going through the day completely unworried. That's called contentment. And so the practice is we come in here, we sit down, we do zazen, we bring our minds into the present moment, we experience our life, the only life we can experience, the perfect life, there is no better life. We completely experience it. We are not busy thinking, oh, there's a better life someplace else, but rather we are completely one. That's called contentment. There's no worry. It doesn't mean that we don't do anything. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be proactive. It doesn't mean we don't respond. But the contentment of being without an inner critic, being the contentment of being without the judgmental comparing mind, the contentment of realizing that, oh yeah, I could not be different than I am in this moment. That doesn't obviate vow. So contentment is not something I say, I'm going to make myself content, I'm going to breathe deeply and slow down. And that's true. You can breathe deeply. You can slow down. You can stop the mind from ranting and raving. You can, what we do with anybody if you work with mental health, if somebody comes in, they're really tremendously agitated. You slow your breath down, your feet, your body. That works. But the contentment that we're talking about here as spiritual being has got to go way beyond that. It doesn't have to, but it can go way beyond that. The contentment that, everything the way it is right this moment could not be different. It's perfect. It will be different in the future. But you could not see what you can't, you could see what you see right now. You can't see something else right now. You can't feel something else right now while you're feeling what you're feeling. I mean, if you get this, it's such an amazing thing. You can't be somebody else. There's no better person in the universe that you can experience than the one you are experiencing right now. And it's gone. It changed. You can only see what we can see right now. Wow. Now that's a kind of very dynamic contentment. That's a kind of very alive place of respect. Alive place. Instead of half being present, saying, I could be better, I could be listening better, I could be talking better, I could be doing this better, I could be doing that better, I really didn't do well in the past, what's going to happen to me in the future? Right here, right now. That's the kind of contentment. Now, contentment, people sometimes think contentment means, okay, I'm now going to be a content lump. I'll be a nice lump and I'll be just sitting here content, and watching my navel and being content. That is a dead state. That is not the goal of spiritual practice. We're not interested in being lumps. I'm not interested in being a lump. I hope none of you are interested in being lumps. It is true that if we can sit down and we calm ourselves down and we actually are present, that things are revealed to us, that we can begin to see the world in different levels, different ways. The mystery appears in lots of ways. It's a very dynamic state. It's good in the beginning to calm down, slow down, great. But that's not the goal of pure spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is about seeing something, penetrating into something, recognizing this sacred moment that can't be different, and being content and appreciative and satisfied right now, the only time we can experience anything. So the contentment, again, is not being a lump. People think I'll be content, that means I won't do anything. I'll just sit there and be indifferent to the world. I'll be content in all the great challenges of the world. I'll just ignore them. I'll just be content with things as they are. Nothing stays the same. So even the idea of I'll just be content and stay the same, that doesn't stay the same. Everything is flowing. So we have to be content with the experience of being us in this body right here with the powers, with the movement that we experience. It's got to do something. That movement is alive. That movement has a karmic trajectory. That movement, we're sitting here in this moment, only time there is, no future, and yet it's not stagnant. It has a dynamicism to it. It has a movement to it. In this moment, it's a movement. That movement is a way of, we have to be constantly responding. And the response comes from deep inside, not as a reaction to what's outside. It has to come from our own deep sense of aliveness. When we touch our own deep sense of aliveness, when we are alive, somebody says, oh yeah, it's all empty. Oh yeah, nothing exists, there is no self, you don't belong, you're just a figment of your imagination, it's just the dreamlike nature of reality, you don't exist. I mean, that's when, the classic stories, the teachers will come and whack you on the head and say, is that true? Is that really true? We're alive. What we think of as alive might have some different ways of looking at it. When we are alive and we appreciate the alive, we appreciate the tingling aliveness of this moment. Incumbent in that, as a part of it, is a kind of appreciation. The universe is creative. It's always creative. It's being creative every moment. This tingling aliveness is a creation. And the gratitude that this chant talks about is the gratitude that comes from seeing, oh my goodness, how in the world did this happen? I didn't have anything to do with it. Somehow here I am, the only way I could possibly be. Here I am. Wow. Shantideva says, it's like finding a jewel in a pile of shit. That somehow, in all the dross and all the difficulties of the world and ourselves, we come to this realization of right here, there is something dynamic, alive. It's a gift. Our life is a gift. Sometimes we talk about the gift of our life. I talk about, well, what did it take for you to get here? I mean, on a horizontal level, it took, gasoline and cars, and it took roads and pavement and, electricity and all those things. And then on a historical level, it took all of your ancestors. The last, 30,000 years, 300,000 years, depending on how you're counting. And I'm always amazed at this. I always think about, for the last, let's say 300,000 years, couples had to come together at exactly the right time, with exactly the right person to have progeny. And the next generation had to exactly the right time with exactly the right person. And it went on for millennia. It's impossible. It's a miracle. If you just think about the probability of meeting any person in this world where it's 8 billion people, it's very, very low. And you think about the probability of meeting those generations of people all meeting at exactly the right time and having enough resources to raise children. It's impossible. When we see that, we begin to say, oh, wow. It's impossible, but here I am. It's a gift. It's a gift. This life is a gift. A sacred gift. You didn't cause it. You didn't say, oh yes, now I'm going to be, you can't find you anyhow, but you didn't cause this. Somehow we appeared with our particular karmic bundle. So this chant, respectfulness and humble ways, contentment and gratitude, are all part of the depths of being willing to sit and to feel deeply and to experience this life, this Dharma. We call that the Dharma. We call the teaching of the truth the Dharma. And these are not some esoteric thing that somebody thought of and said, oh, that's a great thought. I think I'll write it down. I have a book outside of my office right now, which is called I think the Book of Philosophy. And it's a wonderful compilation. It starts off with the pre-Socratic philosophers. Actually, it starts off with Lao Tzu and people way back then. And every 2 pages, or sometimes every 1 page, is a new philosopher. And it kind of goes through the East and the West, and it goes, all the way from the ancient Greeks up to I forgot who the last person is, Fouquet or somebody. Every page, somebody's saying, well, you could think about it this way, or you could think about it that way, or you could think about it this way, or you could think about it this way, 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 you could think about it this way and that way and this way. The whole book is filled with ways of thinking about reality. That's not the Dhamma. That's not the Dharma. The Dharma says, okay, let's pay attention to the direct experience right now. There's a mystery there, there's a tingling aliveness there, and we can relate to that experience with appreciation and gratitude. Because our minds are so fixated, we grow up learning, learning how to behave, learning how to relate to the world, learning about the world, learning about out there, learning how to have skills. We become conditioned. Many different ways we become conditioned. And so, when we're talking about the Dhamma, it's trying to remind us, whether I'm reading it, whether I'm talking about it, whether you're hearing it, it's trying to remind us, look directly, look directly, look directly, open the heart, feel that we are not separate, that we are connected to everything else. Look directly, know that for yourself, verify that. The thing I've been telling people where I've been talking lately is just verify it, verify it, verify it, verify it, confirm it. It's so easy to stand up here and wax eloquent about something, but unless it resonates with your heart, unless you have verified, oh yeah, that is my experience. So what? Just another philosopher. So, we come, we practice, we look, we engage, we look more deeply, we engage, we verify, we verify, we verify, we open the heart, and then we respond to the world. And the world responds to us. Hearing the Dhamma frequently taught, these are the highest blessings. So the Dhamma, the Dhamma is truth, and there's the Buddha Dharma, the truth as taught by the Buddha. There's other kinds of Dharma. There's the Dharma of rocks and minerals, and there's the Dharma of genetics, and there's the Dharma of, this is the way bodies work. But the Buddha Dharma specifically targets how our thinking, how our mind, how our awareness, how that which experiences experience, specifically is about that level of understanding. Of course, that's not separate from anything else, but still you can look at it in that way. So the Buddha Dharma is a collection of teachings by the Buddha and subsequent masters from lots of different traditions, trying to express, trying to put in words something that can only be experienced, trying to put the wordless into words. And so in a lot of the Buddhist canon, it's flexible, it's malleable. There's the Theravadan tradition has the Pali text, but then there's the Chinese tradition, the Tibetan tradition, there's other Southeast Asian traditions, there's the Japanese tradition, and each of these traditions, people are trying to put the fundamental thing that is not conditioned into words that we can hear with a conditioned mind. And so they keep trying. Every generation tries it. I'm trying right now. Everybody keeps trying and adapting because we hear things differently. We're not ancient Indians. And so the Dhamma is flexible, adaptive. And so when we're listening to it, we have to listen from that core of isness, and try to give life to whatever we're talking about. These are the highest blessings. May you all are blessed. One of the things I like by my friend Guagu, he has on his website, he says, you're already free. You click on his website, that's what you get. You're already free. You're already free. You're already free. So congratulations. Anybody have anything they'd like to add to this or tweak it, offer anything else? Shojaku loves to run in the room. Yeah. And we ask, just say your name, Liza. So. What would you like to add to this?
Hello, my name is Liza. I am wondering, I really connected with the way you articulated the difference between philosophy and the Dharma, and like that direct experience of like that spark of aliveness. And I'm currently endeavoring to kind of be in the depths of society and maintain that connection with that spark. And it's kind of hard, especially when there's just like so much sensory information. And so, obviously meditating is a good way of continuing to connect with that spark. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions of ways of touching into that in the moments when I lose it, or I feel overwhelmed, or like my mind is ruminating on something, or things like that.
Now, Liza's a Dharma teacher in her own right. She finished a 3-year retreat. She is an accomplished person. So if a student came to you and asked this question, please, how would you respond? I mean, I'll be happy to respond, but I want the genuine thing here.
Yeah. I think I would invite them to pause and take a breath and maybe like look at the trees blowing in the wind, or like feel the sunshine, like kind of tune into that natural arising of life that's happening in the moment. And with the thoughts, like to name the thoughts, or like to really almost like call out, like really articulate that, like, okay, thoughts are happening, like the story's happening. And I've been trying to do that today and still feel overwhelmed.
Great. Well, that is the experience. It's interesting, there's a wave right now of an old Japanese, or maybe it's probably Chinese, teaching of forest bathing, where they say people go out into the woods and stand by the trees. We do this in Grasses and Trees retreat every summer. Stand by the trees, calm yourself down, feel the life energy that's around you, feel the life energy of the trees and the plants. Resonate with all of that. That's one way of doing that. Another practice is the practice of labeling. When we label something, we're less likely to identify with it. So we label thinking, that's not me, that's thinking. We can label, oh yeah, I'm being very judgmental there, but then we can say the one who is aware is not the judgmental one. We can begin to create some separation between our fixation on our own views and our awareness itself. One thing I like to do, which we can all do right now, it's very simple. You close your eyes right now and you look and see what is the visual field behind the closed eyes. Just call something out. What do you see?
Hogen. I see you. Hogen.
All right. There's an image there. So, what's it made of? What's it made of? What's the image made of? Anybody else? What's it made of? What are you seeing in the visual field? This is not hard. You're all right. Sauce?
Applesauce.
Applesauce. All right. You take what you get. All right.
It's like flickering.
Flickering, static.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orbs of residual light.
I'm sorry, I can't hear that.
Orbs of residual light.
Orbs of residual light.
Light and shadow.
Lights and shadow. So, what?
Colorlessness.
Colorlessness.
Color.
Color? If you look, the visual field is completely active with your eyes closed. There still is the visual field there. It's just seeing different things. And a lot of people, if they're looking closely and minutely at it, you see it's made up of an infinite number of flickering parts, of flickering ons and offs, of flickerings white and black or flickering color. It's made up of small little snowflakes, static, flickering. Now, you can see that, you can recognize that. You know, it's both moving and you can't find movement, it's still inactive. And then you feel in your body. And you think, what is the smallest feeling in my body? The smallest feeling in my body. What is the sensation in my hands or my chest or my belly? What's it made of? What's the smallest particle? And you'll find it's the same thing. And you can do that with the ears. You listen to sound and you say, what is the smallest, most tiniest sound I can hear? The flickering of isness. And then you begin to realize it's all made of the same stuff. The whole world is made of the same stuff. Everything, the same stuff. Flickering, energy, constant motion, you can't find it. Alive, and yet there can't find a particular place it's alive. The whole world is like that. Everything that comes in is like that. So, I do that in my sleep. I do that at night. I kind of say, oh, what's the whole world made of? Check it out. Check it out. So when I am aware of that, what's going to bother you? It's just the same stuff. It's just shaped differently. Sometimes it's shaped like Eliza, and sometimes it's shaped like a Roshi, you know? Same stuff. So that's one way of just not being thrown off, is same stuff. Then the other way, which is a little more exciting, is you look and think, who is the one who's distressed? Who is the one who hears? You can't find anybody. You know that. You can't find anyone. So there's distress, but there's nobody being distressed by it. Stuff. The Dhamma is deeply, deeply rich, so many different direct experiences, and Roshi has one to share with us, and then we'll...
Thank you for listening to the Zen Community of Oregon podcast, and thank you for your practice. New episodes air every week. Please consider making a donation at zendust.org. Your support supports us.